Hey everyone, it's a great pleasure to be here with everyone at the very first Rocks Fest in Chattanooga. Is everyone having a good time? All right. Well, we're here from an organization called Protect Our Winters, which is a nonprofit organization that essentially mobilizes the outdoor um, recreationalists into climate change policy. Just in short, basically, it was started in 2007 by a pro snowboarder, Jeremy Jones, who started seeing resorts close down and mountains that he was riding on deteriorating from climate change. And he didn't see another organization in the snow sports industry that was really mobilizing on this area. So he started Protect Our Winters, and now 16 years later, the organization has grown to include climbers, runners, bikers, obviously snow sports, creatives, scientists. There's brand partners. It's quite massive at this point, and I am delighted to be here right now with three of our alliance members. We also have a few others out there in the crowd too, and to kind of share a little bit about our story of basically using our passions for action. So, I'm Abby Smith. I am a professional rock climber and documentarian. I live in Los Angeles right now. I am the captain. I am the captain of the climb team and the lead athlete captain as well. And I have part of our climb team here with us tonight. So I have Kate Rutherford right here next to me. Kate's also a pro climber. She is the president and founder of Farm to Crag, which she'll talk a little bit today about, and who's also helping with another panel tomorrow, or talk tomorrow. Sorry about that. And a huge advocate for the outdoors and an artist, and we're delighted for her to be here. Phil Henderson, folks, what a legend. Phil has been working hard in this industry for 3 decades at this point and has more stories than, I encourage everyone to sit down and hear some Phil stories. But he has been on major expeditions, including Everest, Kilimanjaro, Denali. We're going to hear a little bit about that tonight. And Olivia Shu, who is a beautiful elite climber, avid climber, pro yoga practitioner and instructors. Tomorrow a.m. at 7 a.m. there will be yoga, as well as on Sunday. But she's gonna has found this beautiful balance between climbing and yoga that she will love to share with us all. And she's also a mother. So, Phil, um, in 2022, you led the Full Circle Everest expedition, which was your second time to Everest. Can you talk a little about the climate impacts that you've seen between those two trips?
Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Philip. I can't see any of y'all because we just have lights, so I think I'm talking to the dark with a few lights out there. But no, Abby mentioned, yeah, this was my second time to Everest in 2022. My first trip was in 2012 with National Geographic and the North Face, and not a lot of people have a contrast, something to compare to. And having those 10 years, having two trips to Everest, it did give me something to see. And two things. One is I believe that it's melting out much faster. One of the biggest things on Everest this year in 2012 was our weather report said to not hike through the icefall for 2 days because it wasn't freezing at night. And so 18,000 feet, and it's not freezing at night. And it's a risk, it's a hazard. The biggest thing that I can share is, I work with the Sherpa community, a lot of them. I've been to Nepal 13 times, and a lot of those folks are like family to me. They're the ones who actually go to Everest every year. And I had 10 years to compare, but I asked one of my teammates, Japal, like, what has he seen in the last, since he's been coming to Everest? And he's definitely, it is getting warmer. Even up high, Camp 2, you have running water. So I think the Sherpas are actually the person to ask the bigger question. But what I have seen is that it's melting out a lot faster. Avalanches, Chirac Fall, higher up on the mountain for sure. Um, but a big part of that is the fact that I think that the Sherpa community is trying to manage those risks a little bit differently. So Everest is changing for sure. Um, you know, so that's the biggest thing I've seen is the fact that it's not, the weather reports are not freezing at night, and even the Sherpa community know that it's much more dangerous for them to work on that mountain. Yeah.
Thank you, Phil. Um, Kate, you are working in both climate and agriculture, which is really interesting. Can you kind of talk a little bit about the climate impacts that you're seeing in the nexus of these two areas?
Yeah. I have this passion for food and climbers, and it's been really interesting to learn why those tie together. And I've traveled all over the world to climb, and I notice that every wilderness I climb in is surrounded by agricultural land. And these pieces of land are not separate from each other, right? They really have um, flora and fauna that cross back and forth, right? There's this biodiversity that go back and forth between wildlands and our agricultural lands. And it turns out that what we eat is having a pretty negative impact on climate change. And we're starting to lose soil really fast due to rainstorms that wash away, really beautiful topsoil, or hurricanes and tornadoes that are blowing fields that are left fallow and open dirt. They're just blowing it away. And it turns out that we climbers need to eat food to climb mountains or boulders or any of it, right? We need food to build muscle. And so there's this hope that if we change the way we eat, we might be able to positively impact the climate, because plants have this power to draw carbon out of the atmosphere, and through photosynthesis, they turn it into these awesome sugars that we can use to build muscle. And then the byproduct of photosynthesis is oxygen, and so they help us breathe too. And then all that carbon that we don't eat gets stored in the soil, and so they can be this really awesome carbon sink and help sort of change this warming climate that is affecting the glaciers that Phil are climbing on, and the watersheds that we're climbing in, all those canyons, or the snow that folks are skiing on. And so it's been really cool to think about how what we eat can be this really positive way to make change.
Love that. Kate is an excellent cook. Join us again tomorrow morning for breakfast and lunch. You'll get a little tasty surprise. Okay, so we all obviously travel a lot in what we do. And Olivia, I'm wondering if you can kind of talk about this perceived hypocrisy of us being climate advocates and then traveling the world. Can you speak about how you kind of deal with that?
So you're basically calling me a hypocrite. Which, I could be a hypocrite. I probably am a hypocrite. But I kind of see it more as myself as being a imperfect advocate. I mean, we all either flew here or drove a car to get to this wonderful, awesome event, and probably all the climbing areas we go to. So if you really think about it, everything we do has an impact, an environmental impact. And the way I view it is that it's kind of the bigger picture. So me as an individual, I can do things like whatever, buy an electric car, travel less, and things like that. But it's really, the big issue is the fossil fuel industry. And I think one of the greatest things I've done as a climber is join Protect Our Winters, because they really advocate for climate change. And we all climb and love the environment and love these open spaces. And that's probably one of the greatest things that I feel like I've been able to do. And I mean, we all travel. I mean, I think I met Phil in Everest in 2012 when we were in base camp, and I think I met Kate traveling in China. Um, and in the end, it's like, you know, as climbers, or pro climbers, we're doing really inspiring things. You're trying to like reach out to a greater community, and maybe the greatest thing that you guys could do is join Protect Our Winners. Um, and basically, as Abby was saying, Protect Our Winners advocates for climate change. And you might think that your voice is not that big, and maybe your impact is not that big, but when you are collective, the power of that is really great.
Can I just add something to that? Um, I think in terms of the travel, like we all travel, I probably traveled more this year than I have in the last 20 years on a plane. But I think it's not enough to just show up on social media, right? So we have to travel. If we are going to build community is not built on social media, on Instagram, Facebook. Like we have to be in person. We have to see each other and look at each other's eyes and speak to one another, have conversations, whether it's through voice or whether it's through sign language. But we have to be in the same place. And in order to do that, we got to travel. And so Olivia talked about it like, yeah, it's imperfect. We can't, there's always going to be that hypocritical side. But in order to build that community, we have to show up in person.
I'll give a quick little plug. Farm to Crag has a map that makes it really easy for you to find local food wherever you might travel to climb. And so seeking out these ways that if you are going to climb and that feels imperfect to you, what are some cool positive ways that you can give back to those communities where you're climbing? Whether it's finding a bakery that, buys local eggs or locally churned butter or something like that. There are these ways that you can get involved in the community, even if you travel, that are going to sort of offset and make your travel a positive force in the world. And like Phil said, if you don't go and engage with the community, then it's like they don't even know you're there. And then that feels pretty imperfect. Like, why are you making that big effort to not even make a comment?
And I'll just kind of riff on that a little bit too, of ways to kind of show up. And it can be as easy as just calling a local congressperson or writing a letter, or, there's ways of getting involved in these big issues. And I think that's one thing that I, again, kind of respect about POW, of being able to give us like toolkits and a lot of education on how to approach our local communities or these bigger issues. And then have a community wrapped around it that we can all kind of like go into these scary things, because the truth is we do a lot of scary things already, like everything that you've done today, climbing, showing up, like that's scary. So we're kind of used to putting our systems into that, so I feel like that should also be kind of like encouraging that you are totally capable of doing this work, and it really does make a big impact. So really thankful for this conversation. And along with that, Phil, you work with PAL as an alliance member and also a board member, but you're doing so much more too. Can you talk a little bit more about your work and mentorship as well?
Yeah, I'm on the board of POW, but I'm also an alliance member in the climbing team. And the work that I do, the reason why I keep doing it, for one, right, is that POW supports me. And it goes, my connection with POW goes back to 2013 when I was on Denali with Jeremy and Conrad and some other folks. I didn't know about POW back then, but since I've known about POW, they've definitely embraced kind of my thought process and my mentality of bringing people in and what I do in mentoring folks. Because from my standpoint, we need to protect the environment. The environment's our playground, it's our life, it's our water, it's our food, it's everything. And we can't have, I don't think one community can do what it needs to do to save that. It takes all of us. It takes everybody in the world, everybody in our society, and I don't see that happening. And so the work that I try to do is to bring other people in, folks at Memphis Rocks. The biggest thing I think that I like about POW is that they support with resources. They don't tell us what to do or say you need to do this, but it's like they ask, what do you need? And so by doing that, then I can ask other people, what do you need? And be kind of an in-between. I can be that person that works with POW and the other folks in the community. And I'm saying that because Memphis Rocks is one of those places where I kind of put these two things together, right? We talk about water, we talk about water quality, the amount of water that we need. And yeah, in Memphis, they may not have a that precious resource that we are running out of in the West. So it's like, well, winter, why do we need to deal with water? Well, maybe your water's not clean, right? So how can POW then be a resource for folks in Memphis on how to change that and receive clean water in every household? And so that's my reason for doing work with POW, and I think POW supports me in my mentorship of climbing, skiing, all of those things, but more so the environmental aspect of it.
Thank you. And I think that just goes to show that we all have, our own individual stories and curiosities and paths and communities that we can just get really active in. And I think by reaching out and showing up and trying to build these partnerships like we are with, Memphis Rocks and like all of us being here, like this is how we actually do start to create change. Thank you, Phil. And Kate, you're spending a lot of time in various communities all over the world. Can you kind of talk about the intersections you've seen between climate, social equality, and community health?
Yeah, great question. Some of the greatest challenge in the agricultural industry is who is farming and is there any justice in that system? And so part of my work in the agricultural space and inspiring climbers to care is thinking that, if I buy an avocado that's made with labor that's underpaid and exposed to pesticides, like how am I contributing to inequality? And if I buy an avocado that's grown with love and really intentional and takes into account the environmental health and the health of the animals on the farm and the health of the workers, like that can actually be a really positive use of my $2 that I spend on this avocado, right? And so just thinking about how negative or positive your potential impact can be based on food is really has really been a fun part of this work. And I also think a lot about food in terms of mental and community health. Food is an archetypal thing that humans share with each other, and it's a way to show your love and receive love and gratitude from both the land or your friends and family. And having dinner together is a space where you can like laugh, you can cry, you can make plans, you can, fight about what color you're going to paint your bedroom, or, think about how you're going to take care of your ailing parents, or you can try to, solve for world peace. Like there's so many things that happen over the dinner table, right? And so how can we kind of get people off of the little screen and out of their vans and sort of onto the picnic blanket or to the dinner table together around like beautiful food that's that has the ability to slow us down and really connect with who grew it, where it was grown, the environment that supports us and our physical health, but also like build community and be able to share community and really have healthier climbing community and healthier rural communities wherever we climb. So it's been a really cool journey to witness how interconnected all that stuff is.
Amazing. Thank you all for sharing just these little snippets of our stories. And we could stay up here all night, but we would love to, hopefully this encourages you all to kind of come talk to us. And Conrad's here as well. He's been on POW for a very long time. And just if you have questions or, want to join Team POW, basically, the statistics have shown that there are 57 million people that recreate or spend time outdoors. That's a huge voting power. That's a huge mobilization power. And so I just really want to, hopefully this encourages you all to kind of like think about in your communities and how to get active. And please feel free, like over the weekend and beyond, to reach out to us. Also, you can go to pow.com and protectourwinters.org, not a .com. And you can join Team PAL there. Again, that's where you can kind of get up to date on like education and toolkits and to kind of break down these bigger issues that are kind of surrounding us. And so that we can all kind of come together and mobilize on these important issues. And we really appreciate you all being here to hear our stories.